So welcome back. This is Marie from Skeletorama again. We are on part 2 of the Snow Ghost taxidermy head. So do you have a trapped soul who's cursed and in some clay? Do you want to make him look a little more fabulous? Sure, we all do. So we're at the part now where we're going to try to put fur on this. This would be the Rubicon here, because yeah, if this doesn't work, then this video never sees the light of day. So it takes the pressure off me. It really does. So anyways, here is our little dude. Hopefully that's in focus. So there's a couple little things we need to do before we do that. We're going to go ahead and paint the inside of his mouth and the inside of his eye sockets, because I don't want to try to do that with fur. As you can see, this dried with a little bit of cracking and roughness. It doesn't matter, we're putting fur on it, so it's going to hide all that, so not as worried about that. So let's move our reference over here. So I've got a couple colors of paint. I've got like this teal I figured would be the best for the inside of his mouth. It's kind of close, because as you can see here, make sure you can see here, so he's got kind of a blue and then the yellow. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to use for his eyes, because why plan things out? It's more adventurous if you don't plan things out. I'm going to take a little bit of craft cardstock there to use as a disposable palette. Shake that up a bit. I don't need much, I only need a tiny bit. But we definitely want to do this before we put the fur on, because, you know, as you can see, I can't even keep it off my hands, and it's been half a second. We don't want to try to do that, and because I will get this all over the fur, right? So let's go ahead and do this first. So I'm just going to take a paintbrush, and I'm just going to color this blue in here. I'm going to try to keep it within the confines of his mouth. It's almost like it knew. But just right when I said that, I missed. But I'm going to attempt to do that so that, you know, I don't want to have to count on the fur to cover it up, because my luck, it won't quite do the job, right? All right, so there we go. Not too bad. Let me get a little bit more on the side here. Okay, yeah, I only got his lip a little bit in one spot. It's not terrible. All right, so let me clean my brush off. And now we have this. I have no idea how old this is. This is probably a relic from the 80s. But it sounds really liquidy. That could either be a good or a bad thing. But we're just going to do the inside of the eyes with this yellow here. I'm actually shocked I own any yellow paint, but there we are. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the eyes. And I'm going to do my best to aim just inside the eyes. Not bad. Okay, one down, one to go. Still plenty of room for error. Not bad at all. Okay. So this, even though I'm going to put something in there where the eyes are, this will be a nice background, because I don't want you to see like a bead with white behind it, because then it'll be just blatantly obvious that it's a bead. This will at least help disguise it a bit. All right, so there we are. There's our little cursed soul trapped in clay, and here's his face on here. So not terribly bad. So I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, and what I'm gonna do is, the nice thing about using, Jesus, look at that. God, I'm a mess. Okay, nice thing about using this is, here's how you clean your palette. Smush it together and you throw it away. Done. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take some of this yarn in the meantime, and she cut it into really small sections. So I want to say they were maybe about 1 inch long. I have a variety of small scissors here. Because, you know, these are craft scissors. Craft scissors are very good at cutting paper and things like that. I use these for fussy cutting. Well, paper is wood. And so that's why, if you have any friends who sew and you grab their fabric scissors to cut paper, they will pretty much try to kill you for doing so, because it dulls them very quickly. So I'm going to see which of these scissors is the sharpest, because once we put this on, you know, you have this little mesh part holding it, the fur together, but we're going to glue it on from this side and then cut this side off. So I want to make sure I've got a pair of scissors that's going to cut this cleanly, because once I have it glued to here, it becomes problematic then if I can't, you know, cut it and then contour the fur later, you know, if I've got dull scissors. So we'll just try all the scissors. Let's try my Tim Holtz ones, which are my favorites. And those cut just fine. I have 2 pairs. I don't even remember getting 2 pairs, but there they are. I do have these. These are like nail scissors. And nail scissors are real good for getting in nice and close and doing this. But see, as you can see, I'm having to pretty much saw that off. So these go in the reject pile. Let's see, these are from Simon Says Stamp. They're their titanium non-stick scissors. Let's see, how do these cut? Oh, see, same thing. Look at this. See how I'm cutting that and it's going between them? It's not ideal for scissors, so we're going to put those in the reject pile. And then I've got my cutter bee scissors, which these are the ones I use for fussy cutting. So these are probably a little dull, but oh, they're not too bad. So I think the winner overall, as should come as no surprise to anyone really, are the Tonic Tim Holtz scissors. They go right through it. So there we go. We've got down to some scissors. So I'm going to cut a bunch of little pieces of this while I wait for that to dry. It should only take a couple minutes. And then I will come back to you and we will start trying to put this on there. Yeah. All right, so we have our little snow ghost here, who's actually not looking too bad. I didn't do terrible. I didn't do as bad as I thought. Actually, oh, you know what? I need to do inside his nose, which I don't think I want to do with paint so much as I'm going to grab my Copic marker. See if I can figure out what I did with it. Where did I put it now? All right, so I got my Copic marker. Copic markers have 2 different ends. They've got like a wedge end, like a regular marker, and then they have like a brush tip end that tapers. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to very carefully just make 1 dot here and 1 dot here. There we go. That's as good as that's going to get. All right. Okay, so now we're going to attach our little fur to this. Like I said, I watched her do it. Does that mean I'm going to be able to do it? Not necessarily. But so what she did is she took it, and see how you've got this mesh here, and then she kind of, you know, pulls it this way. That helps pull some of the loose stuff off, for one, but it gets all your fibers going in the same direction. So what we're going to want to do is, we don't have to do the very back because that's what we're going to glue the thing to, so we don't got to worry about that. But we want to put this in the direction that it would grow. So it's going to grow probably from his face back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to put some glue, and then I'm going to use my paintbrush, you know, to help spread the glue and help attach it and whatnot and get it stuck on there. And then once it's stuck, I'll leave it. And as you can see, it'll be pretty long, because once this dries, then we'll come through and we'll cut this off, and then we'll shape it and all that. Okay. And this might be, actually, you know what? I think just because it's going to be unwieldy, I'm going to go even thinner with this, because this isn't exactly large. And again, what she did wasn't large either, but she actually knows how to do this and I don't. So this is, I'd say about 3/8 of an inch wide, but I think I'll be able to wrangle this a little bit better when I'm putting it on. So, okay. So I'm going to do is I'm going to start, and I'm going to do like a ring of them probably around here. And then I think what I'll do is I'll let it kind of dry for a minute and then do the next, you know, section of it and work my way towards the front. Just because I don't want to have it on there real nice, put the second layer on and mess up the first layer. So I have my cardstock here. I'm going to use my Scotch tacky glue because I really like it and it holds really quick. So I'm just going to put that in there and have my little paintbrush. And let's see, let's try, we'll start at the bottom of his head in case I screw this up. And I'm just going to put like a layer of it here, like a line of it. And then See, that's the trick, is how do I do this without 3 hands? I don't know. I'm just gonna put this here and then kind of hold it with this hand, get it into the glue. And I'm gonna take a little bit more glue and I'm just gonna brush it onto the edges because that's what I want to secure on there. I want to be really careful because, you know, if I get glue on my hands, I'm gonna start sticking to the fake fur stuff. See, there's another little piece I can get over here. So I'm just brushing down the ends. And I know this isn't super close. Hopefully I'll be able to bring it in a little bit closer for you in Premiere when I edit all of this. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Put a decent amount. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to end up, you know, gluing it down so much that it doesn't look like fur anymore, if that makes sense. And it's okay if it doesn't because I usually don't, so there we are. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. It's kind of hard because this is white fur on a white thing. So I think I'm getting all of it. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to continue like that around. And yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll leave it to dry a little bit, and then maybe we can cut off this first layer so I can see how I'm doing with the fur. So I'm gonna put on fast forward, clearly. So I need to make some of my fur smaller now, because yeah, that definitely works a little bit better. All right, so I have the first layer of it. And of course, yeah, it looks like a hot mess because we need to cut these ends off here. So I'm kind of torn. I think, yeah, on the first one I am gonna wait. So I'll come back to you when this is dry, and then we'll cut the ends off of it and kind of see how it looks, so I can see how I did as far as did I glue enough of the ends of the fur down, because again, it's white fur on white clay. It's really hard to see. I'm sure y'all can't see it either while I'm doing this, but I'll give this a chance to dry and I'll come back and we'll snip these ends off and we'll kind of see how it looks. Okay, so it's still a little bit shiny, but that's also what happens with the glue. It tends to make it shiny. So I want to see how this looks once we cut these off. So what I'm gonna do is for each of these, I'm gonna go right to the end where this is and just cut it right off. And what she did is she did basically like the whole head and then cut all these off, which is probably how we will do it from this point forward. But like I said, I just want to see how it looks. So I get all these. Definitely looks better because even hers, you know, when she had them like that, and it's like, God, that looks like a train wreck. But oh yeah, as soon as she cut them off, it looked perfect. It's like, okay, this just might work. We'll see. Missed a little bit there. Okay, so there's that. Get this off of here. So cut all these little bits off, and then I'm sure I'm going to lose some fur because there's no way I got all of it down. But you know, as you can see, look, it's pretty cool, huh? So I think what I'm going to do is see if I can pull any loose ones, which I'm sure there will be many, and then I'm going to start the next row, and I'm just going to leave them not cut. Trim that down though. Okay, I'm going to leave it not cut, just to make it easier so I don't have to worry about accidentally gluing some of the fluff down that I don't want to glue down and all that. How close do you put the next row? I have no idea. So, oh, we'll find out. Let's see, how's about, I really need is something I can put this on. Maybe this bubble wrap will work, so that it can kind of cushion it and hold it in one place while I add stuff on. Is that gonna work? That sort of works. Okay, so I'm gonna start on here and I'm gonna do the next round of them on fast forward, but you know, same thing. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pull that extras off first because I cut all these down while I was waiting for the glue to dry. And then I'm gonna add, I think I'm gonna go like right next to it, like there. I'm gonna add the next layer of fur, and hopefully, you know, it will kind of help disguise any loose areas too once it puffs out. So let's keep on going. All right, so I'm gonna stop here for a second. So what I am finding is it's a little bit easier to take this stuff like so, and I'll kind of hold it by the mesh part and then get any of the loose bits out, get it nice and going in one direction. And then if I hold it next to where I want it and get the glue and then paint the glue on with it, it's a little bit easier. So I've been doing that on these last few. And then just kind of let go of this and make sure you're getting everything down. But, you know, we don't want to turn this over to work on the other side while this is still tacky. So I did as far forward as I wanted to go on the face for now, because we'll turn it on its back and do the face a lot more delicately as we go. But I'm gonna let this set up a little bit, and then I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side the same way. So I'll turn it, you know, back on to fast forward when I do that. So, elapsed time for that was about 10 minutes-ish, 10-15 minutes of me doing that. See you back in a sec. So I've got some more glue out. It's dry enough where I'm gonna put it on the top and do the top of the head. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to like underneath the eyebrows in this way. I'm not gonna do the eyebrows yet. I do wanna do those separate because I'm thinking what I'll do is I might glue that on the mesh side to this just because they're supposed to be so crazy. But I'm gonna try a tool that's gonna be revolutionary to this channel that I haven't used before. I'm gonna put my damn glasses on while I do this because I can't see what I'm doing. It's ridiculous. So let's see how this works here. Oh, hey, look at that. Everything's in focus. Neat. You don't realize how out of focus things are until you put your glasses on, or if you've never had them and never thought you needed them. The very first pair that I got, I stood there and looked at a tree for like 5 minutes because I'm like, oh my God, you can see the leaves. You would think. Okay, so I'm gonna put on fast forward. I'm gonna do a little bit of this head part here, and then we'll go from there. So. so there he is so far. He looks like he's having just the worst hair day, but let's see, is this good enough? So what I'm doing is I'm kind of grabbing stuff I can find on my desk to sort of prop it in a way that's going to make it easy for me to apply the stuff without having to hold it, because you really need both hands with it. I am noticing. So I will continue around the perimeter until we get to the point where we can do the face with it on its back. So I guess I will keep fast forwarding. We'll see how much I decide to leave in. I don't know how much y'all want to see of this, so there is that, but here we go. All right, so we are now, I think, as good as we can be before we just turn it on its back here. Okay, so here we have this guy here, and it looks a bit of a hot mess, but you know what? So did hers. So that's okay. All crafts have their ugly phase. This is its ugly phase, which is fine, but I can already see by how it's looking that once we get rid of these, we are going to have some fur that we can contour. Now, do I know how to contour fur? I don't, but we'll find out together, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to let this set up a little bit, and I'm going to cut some more yarn because I've only got two little chunks of it left. So I'll see you guys back in a minute. So the adventure continues. He looks like he is a very windswept albino lion or something at this point, but that's okay. So I'm going to continue around the face. I think I'll start at the top and fill in this part. I was thinking while I was looking at it, it may not be a bad idea for me to not put fur on these and maybe paint them like a pearlescent white or something. So I'm going to keep that in mind just in case. But we are going to continue putting it on there. So I'm going to go from here back, and then when I get to the face, I'm probably going to go from here back, and from here down. We'll see. I'm probably going to have to cut smaller pieces for some of these too. It doesn't matter if it covers the eyes up a little bit or anything, because we're going to put beads in there. So if anything, we can just kind of part the fur and put the beads in. It'll look like a little stuffed animal. You know how teddy bears have the little button eyes and whatnot. So, all right, let us continue, shall we? All right, so here's where we are. He looks like a big furry nightmare, but once we cut and release all these, it's gonna look a lot better, because like I said, hers did too. So I'm gonna leave this to dry. I'm gonna give it like an hour, I think, and then we'll come along and we will cut all of these off and smooth the fur out and see what we've got to work with. So actually fairly happy with it so far. Even he looks like one of those flowers from Alice in Wonderland, but we'll get there. See you guys back in a minute. So we are back, and this guy is pretty much dry. Let's take him off of here, bring him up a little bit. I'm not sure how in focus this is going to be, but so he's looking very silly right now. So what we're going to need to do is go along with the clippers here, scissors, and I need to cut off all of these mesh bits that hold the fur together. Okay, so I'm going to put on fast forward, and I'm going to do that. I think I'll leave him down here to do that. It'll be a little bit easier. So yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'll see you guys back, and I'm going to try not to cut my fingernail with that. Idiot. All right, see you in a second. All right, so there we go. So see, now that we've cut all that away, I just got like fur everywhere when I did that because I missed slightly. Now we've got, look at this, he's so furry. That's so cute. Okay, so we have this. So I think I'm gonna see if I have a toothbrush that I use for polymer clay stuff. Maybe if I kind of brush it with this a little bit, I can work some of that stuff, the loose stuff out. Yeah, I'm definitely getting some loose stuff out of there. Just kind of fluff everything up. And there we go. That's actually kind of awesome. Oh, okay, well, that is cool. Okay, so now basically what we need to do is we need to contour his face. And trim stuff back that you know, it doesn't need to be quite as furry. So let me grab his picture here, make sure it's in frame. So even though in this one it's very, you know, closely trimmed, it's because it's a model type thing. This is he is a little more fluffy, but again, we need to kind of maybe trim this back a bit here. Not quite as much. Same with this. You know, we can have the stuff in his face a little bit shorter, so his face isn't quite so puffy, but it's still, you can still see that it's furry. And we definitely want to have these eyebrows sticking up, so I'm going to kind of trim around here, trim this down a bit. But this this technique works. Oh my god, it works. This thing is so fluffy. If I was trying to make like a rabbit or a dog or a bear or some kind of furry animal, this works. It really does. I'm surprised. I was kind of expecting it to have big gaps to it, but you know, since you get most of the stuff in there, you know, it doesn't really have a lot of that. So again, we're going to trim his face down pretty close because we want to be able to see it. And his eyebrows, I think I'm going to leave and just paint, but I do kind of want to clear some of the fur out from there, just so this sticks up the way we're expecting it to. And just kind of keep an eye on how close I'm getting to the actual model so that I don't give him a bald spot or something. Around the back, it's okay. Oop, we got one that's connected. Yeah, it's hard to tell with those. I mean, usually you can tell because it's got like a different feel or texture or whatever to it. So ditch this. We're going to give him a little brush again so we can kind of see where we need to continue trimming, because his face is rather more round than we wanted it to be. So let's go like from the eyebrows down. Okay, well, so that's what we got here, right here so far. So it definitely looks a lot more like Snow Beast than it did before. There are some places like here where it kind of looks like the fur is sort of doing a step thing. It's just because I don't know how to contour stuff necessarily, but I think this is about as close as I want to get it. His eyebrows are sticking up. There's a couple spots in here that could be more even, but yeah, and it holds up just fine. I mean, I'm taking a toothbrush. I'm not being really harsh with it, but I'm not being overly gentle either. And it takes it just fine, and it gets all the bits out, and yeah, so that's working great. So here's where we are now with our Snow Ghost head. So I would say that's a success. I mean, can you see how dense that fur is? You know, and I didn't put a ton on there, but it really poofs up and all that. So if you're going to make any kind of, you know, stuffed animal type thing, man, this is the way to go. Okay, so now I'm going to have to go find him some eyes. So I shall be right back. So I'm back, and I'm actually seeing an uneven bit of fur that I want to just snip that real quick. I think it's just one of those things. It's going to be a continual trimming of the fur, but that's fine. So I did find a couple of just regular seed beads. Now I looked, I had some kind of gold iridescent ones, I had some copper ones. They just didn't look right in there. So what I'm thinking is we will take the seed bead. It's easiest to put it in your hand because I want to do this where the hole is in the center, so you're looking at it edge on. And I'm going to drop it in there. Right, and so that makes a lovely eye, and then we can just paint it yellow. That's my best guess. I don't want to try to paint it yellow before I put it in there because I'll mess that up. So let's see if I can get it out. Can I get it out? There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the fur nice and away from his little eyes. I'm going to use this because I can get this into tiny spaces with this tip, which of course is clogged because I haven't used it in a minute. So I'm going to put glue in his little monster eye sockets here. Get my lid back on there so I don't do the having to squish it out again next time I use it. Okay, I'm going to put it in my hand, take my tweezers, get it edge on, and put it in the little eye socket, kind of tamp it down. I'll deal with the extra glue here in a second. Okay, same thing. Seed bead, grab it this way. Nope. There you go. And then I'm going to sit it in the little eye socket, and I'm going to press it in. Then I'm going to take a toothpick, and I'm going to get that extra glue because we don't want that to build up in there, make it look like he's crying or something. I mean, then again, he has a stuffed head on a wall, so what are you going to do? But I also want to make sure that we can still see, you know, some of the yellow from behind there as well. Okay, so there's that. I am going to leave that to dry for a minute and I'll come back to you and we will paint it and we will start looking at how it's going to fit on its little plaque here. Voila. Do I want to make that a shield shape or do I want to just leave it here? You know, I think I might leave it here and mount him up towards the top and then print out a label thing that can go on here that says Snow Ghost and maybe, you know, the episode or the year or something like that. Probably the year would be easier. Well, they'll have the same year. Maybe I'll just put Snow Ghost. I don't know. We'll see. See you guys back in a minute. All right, so I have grabbed a couple things, and every time I turn this a different direction, I see more spots that have little weird bits sticking up. Okay, stop it. All right, so I have the paint. It's gonna be the same paint that we used to paint the inside of the eyes. So I'm just gonna put a tiny bit out here. I'm gonna get my little teeny brush, and I am just gonna barely go over those beads, being very careful not to touch anything else. A little darker on that one and that one. Okay, so I think that's where we're going to stop with that. So I'll set this over here for a second, and we're going to use the same small brush. These metallic waxes, this is by Art Alchemy. You can put them on with your finger, you can put them on with a brush, whichever. 601. It is kind of a pain to clean them out of the brush, but it's a lot easier to do precise work with them when you have a brush. So I'm just going to kind of put this over the surface of his little eyebrows, make him look frosty, and kind of differentiate him from the rest of it. So these are good. I'm going to go ahead and kind of rub the main surface, help work that in and kind of buff it up a little bit. But I think that looks better than trying to put the fur on there. So I'm going to go clean up this mess and I'll join you back in a minute when this here is dry and we can attach him. All right, so we've had a little bit of a change of plans because I was showing my other half, the Yeti guy here, our snow ghost, on this one, and it looks kind of, you know, I don't know, not that great. So he offered to cut a shield shape for me, and it looks much better on the shield shape. So what we're gonna do is, on this one, instead of using the Sculpey stuff, I'm gonna use some of the new paint that I got, the Unicorn Milk by Stuart Simple. It's like a pearlescent finish, and I'm gonna go over it with that because, of course, we've got a snow ghost, and you know, you think of cold and icy and whatever. So this will give it that shine. It'll give it a nice subtle pearlescent texture look to it. Words are hard. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna do that for this and set this aside and let it start drying. And that's that there. And then I'm going to use, oh, see, I used way too much of it in this as I look around for anything else that needs to be painted as a pearlescent top coat. So his eyes with the yellow do look a little flat. So I did want to put a little bit of this in those too, in his eyes, just to make him a little more sparkly and whatnot. Same with the horns. I'm just going to get this little tiny bit here in the center. This will mix with the wax just fine. And then I'm going to do the inside of his mouth as well for the same reason. It looks kind of dull because it's a flat acrylic paint in there. And this, I don't have to worry so much if I get some on the fur. It's not going to hurt anything. But it'll give it at least a little bit of a shine to it. I also, that one part where I went a little bit too far over on the front of his mouth, I fixed with a white gel pen. So white gel pens are great if you've got a little tiny area that you want to fix. They're very opaque, and that way I wasn't putting white paint on, getting too much on the inside, having to fix that, getting blue on the outside, and being there all week. So anyways, that's what we've got with that. So we're gonna let this stuff dry, and we are going to attach him to his new plaque. Yay! All right, so now that this is dry to the touch here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and mount it, but let's see how he looks on there. See, that looks way better. Put this in my hand so you can see. This looks more like a traditional trophy, right? So taxidermy head kind of business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to this. I made sure that I cut the fur as much as I could kind of away from the back of it. So I'm going to go ahead and use E6000 on this, and remains to be seen if I can get the top off of this one, because this jar's been, or this tube's been sitting there for a minute. There we go. All right, so put a nice liberal amount of it on here. Close this up because I still got a little bit left. All right, and we are going to take our little fluffy head and we are going to stick him right on there. So I'm going to bring this up where I can see it, make sure I've got it nice and centered. And there we are. There we have it. So this is going to be very heavy. So it's going to have to be attached to the wall for sure, instead of like with something temporary. Although I would like to maybe see if I can get some museum wax to hold it just long enough to get a picture of it in the room to show you guys how it's going to look. But I think it turned out pretty cool. So the yarn, this is yarn beads. This is from Hobby Lobby. I'm sure there's tons of different kinds of fake fur yarn. Technique really worked. So I will leave the lady who really knows how to do this stuff, her information down below, as well as, of course, Adam from North of the Border if you want to see some real sculpting. I'll also put Zan Von Zed, who is incredible. I watch her stuff and I'm like, that's gorgeous. I will never be able to do that, but you know, I can still watch it. It's still fun. So, but hey, not bad. It's recognizable. His mouth I could have made a little bit smaller, but then again, he looks like he's surprised. I'm sure he was because now he's on a wall. So I'm sure that wasn't expected, right, on his end. But anyway, so there we have it. We have our Snow Ghost taxidermy head. So we will be doing a few more of these here and there. I'm not going to do another one right after this, but because I want to do the Black Knight. That is my next one that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I'll scoot you up a little bit there. So that's where we're going to go next in case number 3. So this was case number 2, and we made ourselves a taxidermy Snow Ghost. So I will see you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.